Ben was a human explorer, flying alone through deep space. His mission was simple. He was sent to scan uncharted planets and send back data to Earth. Most of the time, it was boring. Empty rocks, frozen lands, dusty deserts. But this time, the planet below looked alive. Green jungles, wide rivers, strange lights moving in the dark. He decided to take a closer look. As his ship entered the planet's atmosphere, something went wrong. A loud alarm screamed in the cockpit. The ship shook hard. One of the engines caught fire. Ben tried to control it, but the controls stopped, responding. The ship fell fast. Trees rushed up toward him. At the last second, he pulled the emergency parachute. The crash was loud and violent. The ship slammed into the trees and broke apart. When Ben woke up, he was lying on the forest floor. His arm hurt badly. Blood ran down his forehead. The jungle around him was full of sounds. Birds he had never seen, insects with glowing wings, tall trees with vines hanging down like ropes. Ben knew he had to move. The ship was burning. He grabbed his small survival bag and stumbled away from the smoke. He needed water, shelter, and a way to send a signal. But more than anything, he needed help. Hours passed. He walked through thick plants and over wet ground. The air was hot and heavy. His head was spinning. Just when he thought he couldn't walk anymore, he heard something strange, voices, not human, but clear and strong. He turned and saw them. 4 tall figures, their skin a soft blue with silver, marks across their arms. They wore clothes made from leaves and fabric he didn't recognize. One of them held a long spear. The others had strange tools and weapons made of bone and metal. They moved like hunters, fast and careful. Ben raised his hands. He tried to speak, but his voice came out weak. One of the figures stepped forward, a woman. Her eyes were bright green. She looked at him without fear. He said, "Help me, please." She tilted her head and spoke in a language he didn't understand. Then she moved closer and touched his arm. She looked at his wound, then at the others. They nodded. Before he could say anything else, one of them put a cloth over his eyes. Ben felt himself being lifted. His body went limp as darkness took him. When he opened his eyes again, he was lying in a soft bed made of woven leaves and warm cloth. The ceiling above him was round and high, made from wood and large tree branches. Sunlight came in through small windows. It was not a cave. It was a house, but not like anything on earth. He tried to sit up, but groaned from the pain. At that moment, the door opened, and the same woman walked in. She held a bowl of glowing liquid and a small wooden spoon. "You are safe now," she said slowly in broken English. Ben was surprised. "You speak my language?" "Only little," she said. "We watched your kind, learned words." She dipped the spoon and held it out to him. "Drink. This heal you." Ben took a sip. It was warm and bitter, but not bad. The pain in his arm began to fade. His head felt clear. He looked at her closely. Her hair was long and tied back with a piece of vine. Her skin was smooth and marked with thin silver lines that looked like tattoos, but glowed slightly. "My name is Ben," he said. She nodded. "Tareen. I am leader of the scout group. We found you near Fire Sky." "You mean my ship?" Ben said. Tareen nodded again. "Yes. You fell from above. Sky opened. We brought you to the tree village. You are our guest." Ben tried to stand, but Tareen gently pushed him back down. "Not yet. You must rest. Then you meet tribe." He looked around the room. Simple tools, carved wood bowls, strange fabrics hanging on the walls. Everything was neat and peaceful. He realized they had saved his life. "Thank you," he said. Tareen gave him a small smile. "You are not enemy. You are lost. We do not leave people in the forest. It is the Nehari way." "Nehari? My people," she said. "The ones who live with the trees. We speak to the sky, the wind, and the water. We keep balance." Ben closed his eyes for a moment. He still couldn't believe what was happening. A human explorer, saved by alien forest people, lying in a treehouse far from Earth, but somehow he felt calm, safe. Tareen stood and walked to the door. "Rest. I return soon." As she left, Ben looked out the window. The village was built high in the trees. Walkways made of rope and wood connected the houses. Children played on the bridges. Adults carried baskets of food and tools. Everything moved in rhythm. No machines. No noise. Just the forest and its people. Ben sighed. He didn't know how long he would stay or if Earth would ever find him. But for now, he was alive. And he was not alone. Ben woke to the sound of soft singing. It came from outside the round window. The sun was rising, and golden light filled the wooden room. His arm felt better, wrapped in soft leaves and warm cloth. He could move it without much pain. The glowing, liquid Tareen gave him must have been strong medicine. He slowly sat up and looked around. The room was clean and full of handmade items. Small animal carvings sat on the shelf. A wooden pot was steaming near the fire pit. Strange plants hung from the ceiling, drying in the warm air. After a while, the door opened. Tareen stepped in. She was carrying a bowl of food and a smile on her face. "You feel better," she said, as she placed the bowl near him. Ben nodded. "Yes, thank you. That drink helped a lot." She sat down beside him and offered the food. It smelled like sweet fruit mixed with warm roots. Ben took a bite. It tasted strange but good. Tareen watched him eat, then spoke slowly. "Your bones were hurt. Your head was bleeding. The forest is not kind to the weak. But you are strong. You heal fast." Ben smiled. "Your people saved me. I owe you." She looked at him with calm eyes. "You are a guest. That means we protect you, we feed you, and you stay until you are ready." Ben paused at that last line. "What if I want to go back?" Tareen was quiet. She looked out the window at the village. Children ran across the rope bridges, laughing and shouting. Adults carried baskets filled with fruit and long leaves. "You crashed far from your sky path," she said. "No machine will work here. The forest eats metal. Even your ship is sinking into the roots." Ben frowned. "I had a signal beacon. Maybe I can still call someone." Tareen didn't reply. She stood and walked to a shelf. She took down a small box made of smooth wood. She opened it and showed him his beacon. "It is quiet now. The trees do not let it sing." Ben reached for it and turned it on. Nothing. No light. No sound. It was completely dead. He sighed. "So I really am stuck here." Tareen gave a soft nod. "But you are not alone." That evening, Tareen helped Ben walk for the first time since the crash. They stepped onto the wide wooden paths between the trees. The air was warm, and the forest buzzed with life. Birds with bright feathers flew past. The trees glowed slightly with soft blue light as night fell. Nehari villagers waved at Ben as he walked by. Some brought him small gifts, like a carved feather or a piece of fruit. One old man even bowed and said something in their language. Tareen laughed and explained. "He says you are the one who fell from the stars. He thinks you are a sign of change." Ben chuckled. "Let's hope that's a good thing." They reached a large open space where a group of Nehari were making music. Drums made of hollow logs, flutes shaped from bird bones. The rhythm was slow and peaceful. A few people danced in a circle. Tareen sat on a large root and motioned for Ben to join her. He sat down beside her, feeling the warmth of the drums in his chest. "This is how we end the day," she said. "With music, with thanks." Ben watched the people dance. Their movements were smooth and graceful. Even the children joined in, spinning and laughing. "They're happy," Ben said. "Yes," Tareen replied, "because they live with the forest, not against it. We take what we need. We give back when we can." Ben looked at her. "Your way is peaceful." Tareen turned to him. "And your way?" Ben paused. "We build cities. We fly across the sky. We take from the ground. Some of it is good, but not all." She nodded. "Then maybe the stars brought you here for a reason." That night, back in his room, Ben lay on the soft bed and stared at the ceiling. His thoughts were full of questions. What if no one from Earth ever came? What if this tribe was his new life? He didn't have answers, but he did feel something he hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. In the days that followed, Ben continued to heal. His strength returned. He began walking more, exploring the village. The Nehari showed him how to climb the tall vines. They taught him which fruits to eat and which flowers to avoid. Children followed him, calling him funny names in their language. He laughed and played with them, feeling like he was part of something again. Tareen stayed close. She taught him how to shape wood with stone tools, how to listen to the wind for signs of rain. They talked for hours, slowly teaching each other words. Their bond grew stronger with each day. One morning, Ben helped a young boy who had fallen and cut his leg. He used his knowledge from Earth to clean the wound and wrap it with clean cloth. The boy smiled and hugged him. The boy's mother bowed deeply and placed a hand on Ben's shoulder. That night, the chief of the tribe visited him, a tall woman with white hair and sharp eyes. "You have heart," she said. "You help. You learn. The Nehari see this." Ben stood respectfully. "I'm just doing what I can," the chief nodded. "Tareen speaks well of you. That means much." After she left, Ben sat with Tareen by the fire. "I feel like I belong here," he said. Tareen looked at the stars above. "And maybe the stars agree." One morning, Ben woke to the sound of drums in the distance. The air smelled sweet, like flowers and fresh fruit. Outside his window, the whole village was moving with excitement. Children were hanging decorations made from colorful leaves and shining stones. Adults were painting their faces with soft red and green colors. Baskets full of food were being carried to the center platform. Ben stepped out of his treehouse and stretched his arms. Tareen was already waiting for him. She wore a long cloth across her shoulders, filled with silver patterns. Her hair was tied with bright blue ribbons. She smiled as she saw him. "Today is special," she said. "It is the festival of unity. Once every turn of the stars, our tribe gathers and honors those who join with us." Ben looked around. "So this is a big celebration." Tareen nodded. "Yes, it is when we welcome all who help us, protect us, or choose to live beside us, even those from far away." She handed him a folded piece of fabric. "This is for you. Wear it. It shows you are our guest." Ben opened the cloth. It was soft and light, the same color as the village leaves. He wrapped it over his shoulders and followed Tareen down to the center platform. The village square was decorated with lights made from glowing stones. People danced in circles, holding hands and singing in the Nehari language. Long tables were filled with roasted fruits, wild vegetables, and sweet drinks. As Ben and Tareen walked through the crowd, many villagers greeted them. Some offered food. Others gave small gifts like carved animals or bracelets made of vines. Ben felt shy but happy. He had never been part of something like this. At the center of the square stood a wide circle made from white stones. In the middle of the circle stood the tribe's chief. Her name was Myra. She raised her hand, and the music stopped. "This is the day of unity," she said in a clear voice. "On this day, we welcome those who walk with us in peace. We thank those who protect the land, and we honor those who have chosen to share our path." She turned to Ben and motioned for him to step forward. Ben walked slowly to the center. The tribe watched him with quiet eyes. Tareen followed beside him, her expression calm and proud. "This man," Mara said, "fell from the sky. He was broken and lost, but he showed kindness. He helped our children. He respected our ways. He listened. He learned. He did not ask to join us, but his actions spoke louder than words." Ben felt his heart beat faster. He looked at Tareen, unsure of what to say. Mara reached into a basket and pulled out a necklace made of small blue stones. She placed it around Ben's neck. "Ben of the sky," she said, "you are now one with us, a member of the Nihari, a guest who has become family." The crowd cheered. The drums began again. People clapped and sang. A young boy ran up to Ben and threw flowers at his feet. Ben stood still, surprised and confused. He hadn't expected this. He thought he was just a visitor. Now they were saying he was something more. Later, as the sun went down and the fire lit the night, Tareen sat beside Ben on a bench made of smooth wood. "You are quiet," she said. Ben looked at the flames. "I don't know what to say. I didn't plan this. I didn't expect to be made part of your tribe." "You did not plan," Tareen said, "but you acted from your heart. That is what matters." Ben looked at the necklace. "So this means I can't leave?" Tareen's smile faded a little. "To the Nihari, joining the tribe is not just a word. It is a promise. It means staying, protecting, giving back. It is not something we take lightly." Ben frowned. "What? If I want to go back to my own people?" Tareen looked into the fire. "If your heart calls you home, we will not stop you. But you will no longer be one of us. You will go as a friend, not as family." Ben felt a heavy weight in his chest. He had grown close to these people. He had shared food with them, helped their children, learned their ways, and most of all, he had come to trust Tareen. "I don't know what I want yet," he said quietly. Tareen nodded. "Then do not decide tonight. Let the stars guide your path." The music continued. Dancers spun in the firelight. Ben sat in silence, the necklace warm around his neck. He looked up at the sky. No ships, no lights, just stars. He wondered if Earth even knew he was still alive. As the night grew deeper, Ben helped carry baskets back to the storage huts. He spoke with a few villagers, sharing stories and laughs. The people welcomed him without question. They treated him as one of their own. Before going to sleep, Tareen stopped at his door. "You wore our colors well today," she said. "You helped me stand with pride," Ben replied. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have a strong heart. The forest sees it." Ben didn't know what that meant, but it felt true. He lay down in his bed and closed his eyes. The sounds of drums still echoed in his mind. He thought about what it meant to belong, what it meant to choose a new path, and whether he was ready to do that. Tomorrow would come with new questions, but tonight he rested as one of them. 3 days had passed since the Festival of Unity. The village had returned to its peaceful rhythm. Ben had started helping with small tasks. He carried baskets, cleaned tools, and helped Tareen with carving wood. Life in the tree village felt simple but full of meaning. Each day he felt more at home. But something deep inside him still waited, a voice that whispered about the world he had left behind. Earth, the mission, the signal. He tried to forget, but he couldn't. One morning, the sky changed. Ben was helping a young boy gather fruit when a deep sound echoed through the forest. It wasn't thunder. It was sharp and cold, like metal screaming across the air. He stopped and looked up. A black shape moved above the trees, fast and wide, not a bird, not a cloud. It was a ship. Ben's heart jumped. He dropped the basket and ran toward the village center. Tareen was already there, standing with the chief and other warriors. All of them were looking at the sky. The ship circled once, then disappeared behind the hills. "That was not one of yours?" the chief asked Ben. "No," Ben said. "That design is not from Earth. It's a mining craft. I've seen them in reports. Private companies use them to find rare resources on unknown planets." Tareen's eyes narrowed. "They come to take." "Yes," Ben said. "They scan the land. If they find energy or minerals, they start cutting the ground. They don't ask. They don't care who lives there." The chief turned to her people. "Send scouts. Watch the sky. Watch the land." Warriors ran toward the edges of the village. Tareen looked at Ben. "You know these people?" "Only from files," Ben said. "They use machines, drones, weapons. Your tribe must be careful." That night, the scouts returned with news. A mining camp had been set up near the river, 5 hills away. Machines were digging. Drones were flying. The camp had a small defense. "Shield! They are fast," said one scout, "and they do not speak to the forest." Ben sat with the elders and explained what he knew. The mining company would likely stay for weeks. They would ignore any warning unless threatened. And if they found the tree village, they might attack. "They will not stop unless they are afraid," Ben said. The elders looked at each other. They were not warriors by nature. They protected, not invaded. But this was different. The chief asked Ben a question. "Can you help us prepare?" Ben looked around the room. These people had given him shelter, food, healing. Now they were asking for his help. "I will do what I can," he said. The next day, Ben and Tareen began planning. Ben used parts from his broken ship to build small traps. He created a signal blocker to confuse the mining drones. He taught the tribe how to hide their energy signs. Tareen organized the warriors into teams. They learned how to move quietly, how to wait, how to strike only when needed. Each night they trained. Ben felt something strong building inside him. Purpose. Focus. He was no longer just a guest. He was part of something larger. One morning, while checking the signal blocker, Ben heard a sound behind him. A small drone floated near the trees. It was scanning, slowly moving, searching. Ben held his breath. The drone moved closer. Then it stopped, turned, and flew back toward the camp. "They know something is here," Ben said when he returned to the village. "They will come soon," Tareen replied. The tribe gathered. The chief spoke clearly. "We do not seek war, but we will not lose our home. We fight for the forest, for our children, for peace." Ben stood beside them, holding a tool he had shaped into a weapon. His heart was calm. He was ready. At sunset, the mining team arrived. Small. Machines rolled into the forest. Drones flew above. A group of armed workers moved behind the machines. Their faces were covered, their voices cold. Ben triggered the first trap. A loud sound blasted through the trees. The drones shook. The workers stopped. Tareen gave a signal. Her warriors moved like shadows. They made no sound. They didn't hurt. They only blocked paths, confused sensors, and damaged tools. Ben's signal blocker sent out waves that jammed the mining scans. The machines shut down. The workers shouted into their radios. Nothing worked. Then Ben stepped into view. He raised his hand. "This land is not empty," he said. "People live here. Families, children. Leave now." The leader of the mining team raised a weapon. "You're just one man." "No," Ben said. "I am one of them." Tareen stepped beside him. Her warriors appeared behind her, silent, strong. The forest seemed to grow around them. The mining team looked at the shadows in the trees, at the glowing eyes, at the weapons shaped from nature. They backed away. "We'll report this," the leader said. "You can't stop the company." Ben didn't answer. He just stared. Slowly, the workers turned and left. The tribe watched in silence until the machines were gone. The air felt clear again. That night, the village gathered around the fire. They ate together and sang songs of protection. The children laughed. The elders smiled. Tareen sat beside Ben. "You stood with us," she said, "even when danger came." "You gave me a place when I had none," Ben replied. "This is my home now." Tareen looked into the fire. "They will come again, maybe stronger. Then we'll be ready," Ben said. Above them, the stars shined. The forest slept. And Ben knew something had changed. He was no longer just a visitor from the sky. He was a defender of the land, a member of the Nehari. Days turned into weeks since the last fight. The forest had quieted again. The Nehari people worked hard to rebuild small parts of their village. Ben helped where he could. He felt stronger, healthier, more alive. Yet inside, a question grew, louder. Would he ever see Earth again? One morning, Ben sat on a high branch, scanning the sky with a small device he had fixed. It was old and weak, but still worked sometimes. Suddenly, a soft beep came from the device. His heart jumped. A signal. From Earth. He called Tareen down. Her eyes widened when she saw the flickering screen. "It is your home," she said softly. Ben nodded. "They are near, a rescue ship. They have been searching for me." The news spread quickly through the village. The elders gathered, and the chief spoke. "Your people come for you," she said. "But remember, you have a choice." Ben understood. If he left, he would return to a world that seemed far away now. A world of machines, noise, and endless struggles. Here in the forest, he had found peace, family. The rescue ship landed on a nearby plateau. It was large, shining metal that looked strange against the green jungle. Ben walked toward it with the Nehari watching silently. The captain of the rescue team, a woman named Mira, stepped forward. "Ben, we've looked everywhere for you," she said. "You're coming home." Ben smiled but felt unsure. "I have been safe here, with friends." Mira looked at the villagers. "They saved you?" Tareen stepped beside Ben. "We are his family now." Mira nodded slowly. "You have a place here. But Earth waits." Ben looked at the shining ship, then at the glowing eyes of the Nehari. He thought of the nights by the fire, the songs, the children's laughter. A new world had opened to him. At night, Ben sat with Tareen under the stars. The village was quiet, the fire warm. "Will you go?" she asked. Ben was silent. "I don't." "No, you belong here," she said. "But your heart may call you elsewhere." Ben took her hand. "I want to see my people again, to tell them about you." Tareen smiled. "Then you must choose." The next morning, Ben spoke with the chief. "If I leave, will you let me go?" he asked. The chief looked at him kindly. "You came as a guest. You became family. The Nehari do not stop those who must travel. But once you leave, the path back is your own. You will be a friend, not one of us." Ben understood the meaning. To stay was to be one with the tribe. To leave was to return to the stars alone. He walked to the ship, looking back once at the village. The children waved. Tareen stood at the edge of the trees, her eyes shining. Ben smiled. "I will come back." The ship lifted into the sky. The jungle grew smaller. Earth waited below. Ben knew his life had changed forever. The stars had brought him to the Nehari. The Nehari had made him home. Days passed since the mining team left the jungle. The forest became calm again. The air was full of bird songs and the quiet hum of nature. The Nehari people smiled more. Children played without fear. But Ben knew it was not over. Each night, he sat with Tareen near the fire. She spoke of the old times, when outsiders tried to take the land. They came with machines, promises, and lies. They left behind only scars on the earth. The Nehari had learned to stay hidden, but now they were seen again. Ben could not stop thinking about the drone that had returned to the mining camp. He had seen its blinking light before it disappeared. It had recorded everything, his face, the tribe, the forest paths. That meant the mining company had proof. They would come back with more people, more machines, more power. One evening, the chief called a meeting of all adults in the village. She stood on a high wooden platform and raised her staff. "The forest is our home," she said. "We drink its water. We breathe its air. We live in its light and sleep under its roof. If the outsiders return, they will not only take the trees, they will take the life within it. We must be ready." Ben stepped forward. He held a small round device in his hand. It was made from parts of his broken ship and the tools he had borrowed from the village. "This is a shield booster," he said. "If we place it around the heart of the village, it can hide us from most scanners. The machines will think this part of the jungle is empty." Tareen looked at the device. "Will it work?" "It will," Ben said. "But only for a short time. We must still prepare for the worst." The villagers agreed. They started building defenses. They used what they knew: trees, ropes, vines, water. They built high nets to catch flying drones. They dug hidden holes to trap machines. They trained the animals to give warning calls. Ben worked side by side with the Nehari. He climbed trees, tied knots, shaped tools. He taught them how to use sound to confuse machines. He showed them how to make fire that gave no smoke. He used all his knowledge to protect the home that had taken him in. Tareen stayed close to him. They moved like a team. They trusted each other without speaking. When they sat by the river at night, she would sometimes speak in her language, and Ben would listen. He didn't always understand, but the sound of her voice was enough. One morning, a loud sound came from the west, not birds, not wind, engines. The Nehari rushed to the high platform. Ben used his scope to look across the trees. He saw dark ships landing far from the village, 10 or more. Dozens of soldiers stepped out. They wore black suits and carried large weapons. Machines rolled behind them. Flying drones filled the sky. "They brought a full team," Ben said. "They're here to take control." The chief stayed, calm. "Let them come. We do not run." Ben nodded. He pressed a button on his device. A blue wave moved across the trees. The shield was active. The village vanished from scanners. To the machines, it looked like empty jungle. The Nehari spread, out, silent and unseen. The women hid the children in deep tree tunnels. The men and older boys moved to defense points. Ben and Tareen took the west path. Hours passed. The sound of machines came closer. The mining team was cutting trees, setting up camps. They were moving toward the hidden village. Ben whispered to Tareen, "Wait for the signal." She nodded and raised her bow. When the enemy crossed the last line of trees, Ben pressed another button. A flash of sound hit the area. Drones dropped. Machines froze. The soldiers shouted. The Nehari moved, fast and quiet. They did not kill. They disabled. They broke weapons, smashed scanners, led the soldiers in circles. The forest became their shield. Ben climbed a tall tree and sent a signal back to the mining ship. "This land is not yours," he said into the device. "You are not welcome. You were warned once. Leave now or face more losses," a voice replied, cold and angry. "You're just one human. We don't care what you say." "You should," Ben said, "because I'm not alone." The signal cut. Down below, the soldiers tried to find a path, but the forest confused them. Trees shifted. Animals screamed, ropes pulled them off balance. The jungle itself fought back. At night, rain fell hard. The machines slipped. Fires were washed out. The soldiers grew tired. By morning, half of them were gone. The others had set a small base, but it was weak. Ben joined Tareen at the edge of the clearing. If we strike now, we can drive them out. Tareen raised her hand. No. One more try. We give them a choice. She stepped into the open, alone. The soldiers pointed weapons at her. She raised her arms. I am Tareen of the Nihari. You are not welcome. Take your tools and leave. We will not warn you again. The leader of the group stepped forward. His voice was hard. You are primitives. You have no power here. Ben's voice came from behind the trees. Wrong, they have me. He stepped out. His face was clear. His hands were raised. You know who I am. You saw the files. I was part of the space program. Earth will listen to me. The soldiers paused. The leader frowned. We'll report this. You'll be hunted. Then report it, Ben said. But leave. Now. A moment passed. Then the leader gave a signal. The soldiers stepped back. The machines turned. One by one, they left the camp and walked back toward their ship. The jungle was quiet again. Ben turned to Tareen. She placed a hand on his shoulder. You spoke with fire. I spoke with truth, Ben said. The villagers gathered again. They cheered softly. The forest seemed to breathe easy. Ben looked at the trees, the sky, the people. He had protected them, and they had accepted him as one of their own. Ben sat alone in the small room aboard the rescue ship. Outside the window, the jungle planet grew smaller and smaller. The green trees, the glowing lights, and the people he had come to love were fading into the distance. His heart was heavy. He thought of Earth, the place where he was born and trained. He thought of the mission that had brought him so far. But mostly he thought of the Nihari and Tareen. The ship's captain, Mira, entered quietly. She sat beside him. Are you ready? She asked gently. Ben looked at her. I am not sure. Mira smiled kindly. You have a choice. You can return to Earth or go back to the tribe. Either way, we will support you. Ben nodded. Thank you. He closed his eyes and remembered the festival, the music, the warm firelight. He remembered the nights under the stars and the feeling of belonging. He opened his eyes and stood. Mira followed as he walked to the ship's door. Outside, the landing platform waited, bright and cold. Ben took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. He felt a pull from two worlds. One was his past, the other was his future. He thought of Tareen, strong and calm. He thought of the children, who had smiled at him. He thought of the chief, who had trusted him. Then he made his choice. Ben turned and walked away from the ship. He walked toward the forest, toward the village he now called home. The Nihari people came out to meet him. Tareen ran forward and took his hands in hers. Her eyes shone with tears of joy. You chose the tribe, she said softly. Ben nodded. This is where I belong. The chief approached and smiled. You are one of us now, a true member of the Nihari. Ben felt peace fill his heart. He looked at the trees around him, the stars above. He was no longer a visitor or a lost traveler. He was family. Days later, Ben stood with Tareen at the edge of the village. The sky was clear and full of stars. The tribe gathered for a new celebration. The chief spoke. Tonight, we honor Ben. He came from the stars and found a new home. He showed us strength, kindness, and courage. He is our brother. Ben smiled. He knew his life had changed forever. He was ready for the future, not just as a human, but as a Nihari, a protector of the forest, a guardian of the stars.